I'm Dan Farber, coming to you from CNET News' studio in San Francisco, and I'm joined by my colleague Charlie Cooper, and we are here to talk about what else? Microsoft and Yahoo.
Microsoft all the time. So over the weekend, we get word that what we thought had been a done deal, that Microsoft and Yahoo were going their separate ways, well, not so fast. Steve Ballmer and company are apparently interested in taking another look, maybe not for the entire company, but for some of the assets, whatever they may include. And then today we hear there's another rumor that once they get done taking a look at Yahoo and perhaps making a bid, then there's Facebook. At this rate, I don't know, what's next, McDonald's?
That's a good point, or Burger King, something like that. But you know, from my point of view, I think that essentially what Microsoft wants to do is take Google out of the equation. And as you know, Google and Yahoo have been dancing around trying to do an ad deal around text ads where Google would be selling text ads on Yahoo's search site.
Which would be Microsoft's worst nightmare.
Right, and Ballmer talked about this in a letter to Jerry Yang when he walked away from the table, that just wasn't sitting well with him. So I think this is a way for Microsoft to kind of keep the door open and for Yahoo to perhaps save face, because they weren't expecting Microsoft to walk away. At $33, they thought, well, we'll get them to 37, maybe we can get them to 35. Didn't happen. And so I think given all the shareholder lawsuits and Carl Icahn coming in and putting up a new board of directors for the July 3rd shareholder meeting, I think Yahoo has to be very open to this kind of relationship.
The board is under a lot of pressure, especially because of what Carl Icahn is doing. Yet last week, organized his proxy slate. The question that I have is, what are we talking about now? If we're not talking about a full purchase of Yahoo, that may or may not happen. If we're talking about assets, what assets are they really going to be negotiating over?
You know, I gave this some thought, and I posted something today. And you know, my impression is what they're trying to do is, again, stop this Google-Yahoo deal on search ads from happening. And then secondly, maybe announce that they have Microsoft has an event this week called Advance 08, which is an advertising leadership forum. So perhaps they want to announce it there. That leaves the door open to come back later, given what's happening with the shareholder lawsuits and Carl Icahn, come back later and say, you know, we still want to buy the whole company, but let's do it under more friendly terms.
It's plausible, but there are so many balls in the air. Again, if Yahoo gets rid of search, what does it leave it with? Flickr and a few other properties?
I totally disagree. Totally disagree. I think you underestimate the fact that Yahoo has 500 million unique users every month. They have not just Flickr, but they have all these email users and instant messaging users. And I think one of the goals for Microsoft as well as for Yahoo, and let me quote from Kevin Johnson, who runs Windows and Windows Lives, he says, we have 4 pillars. One is to consolidate the ad platform and win in display. The next is to innovate and disrupt search. So that applies to the search things that are going on with Yahoo. Secondly, it's to deliver end-to-end user experiences across the PC, the phone, and the web. That's something that Yahoo does. As well as to reinvent the portal and social media experiences. Again, something that Yahoo's deeply involved in, has a lot of technology and a lot of engineers around. So I think that there's a lot of assets, and that by combining, they're a much greater threat or competitor to Google.
If you're talking about an outright purchase of Yahoo, I'm with you. But what's the fastest growing segment of advertising? It's search. If we're talking about carving a part of the company, I still don't know if that makes sense from a Yahoo perspective. Again, leaving the door open for something a little bit more.
Well, think of it. I would think of it more as a joint venture where those two guys are getting together. Yahoo, I mean, Google has almost 70% share of the search ad market. So if they combine, they've got 25, 30%. That's you know, maybe by combining, they'll be a stronger competitor to Google in that space.
Perhaps, but then again, now we've got Facebook perhaps in the equation. That one, at this point, I still don't understand. We're talking about Microsoft really incorporating a lot in a very short amount of time.
I don't know how short a time it is, but I would have to say that at this point, Facebook is probably rethinking its stance about how independent it wants to say, given the fact that it turns out that selling ads on social networking sites is not as lucrative as selling ads on a search site.
And the CPMs are not that great.
They're not as great. And secondly, there's the issue of, well, if the economy is kind of slowing down, if they have more competitors, and the walled garden approach, meaning trying to keep people within Facebook, is becoming less of a reality given all the issues around people wanting to have their data and all the data portability things going on with Google Friend Connect and so on. That, perhaps Facebook, at least the elders at Facebook, are really thinking, well, if we could get $20 billion out of Microsoft, we'll take it.
Instead of chancing an IPO that may or may not come about. Sure, makes sense.
Okay. For CNET News and Charlie Cooper, I'm Dan Farber. Thanks for watching.